We are in Chapter 5, Linear Inequalities. I'm just going to go through this review guide. It's to solve for the following inequalities in graph. We need to get y by itself by dividing -3. Y is isolated or alone. Since we divided by a negative, we must flip the sign, and we're at -4. We go to -4. We are not equal to -4. We're just less than it. So we're going to put an open circle at -4. And anything below -4 is a solution. So we shade to the left. Number 2, we're going to multiply both sides by, not 2, I'm sorry, 4, because it's currently being divided. M is now less than 32. We don't have 32, so let's extend the line, put a 32 on it, and it's an open circle, and we are everything less than 32. Number 3, we have to get rid of a positive 1 first. We're still left with x over 7, which is greater than -7, and then we multiply both sides by 7. So x is greater than -49. So I should have left these blank. I just copied and pasted a generic one. I should just left them blank. And let's extend it. And we're going to put a -49, which is open circle, but we're greater than it. So the squiggle is the shading. It's saying anything greater than -49 is a solution to this inequality. Here we're going to add 8.4 to both sides. 3.3x is now less than, it's going to be 18, but this is going to be 12, so carry the 1, 19.2. We divide both sides by 3.3, see if it's pretty. You get 5.818 and so on and so forth. So let's just get really close to 6 and put a open circle and shade. Okay. Next one, we have to get z by itself, so remove the -8 by adding 8 to both sides. You're going to get a 4 is less than -2z. How do I get z alone? Get rid of multiplying the -2, so we divide it. It's going to be a -2. Since we're divided by negative, we flip the sign. -2 is greater than z, therefore z is less than -2. So we go to -2. We know it's an open circle, and it's anything less than -2. Number 6, we have to get x by itself. So we're going to get x's to the left by subtracting. We'll get -1x is -9 is greater than 0. Then we're going to get numbers to the right by adding 9 to both sides. -1x is going to be greater than 9. We divide both sides by a negative. The sign flips. So x is less than -9. And lastly, at the bottom, just for space, I wanted you to solve these, but we're not using a number line. We're just going to say my values are greater than 1.5 or 3/2. Here, I'm subtracting 2 and I'm subtracting 6x. I'm going to put them together by combining like terms and get -3x minus 2. Then I start by moving 2 to the other side, and then we're isolating x, so we divide by -3. So x is isolated, so x, we're going to flip the sign because we divided by a negative, is greater than -10. C, we're going to subtract, we're going to get x's on the left. We're going to get numbers on the right. We divide by negatives. Does that make sense? Okay, oh, there's some more on the next page. We're going to subtract 4 from both sides. When we do that, we're going to get 6. So then we multiply -3 on both sides. D is less than -18. Here, I need to distribute 7. You get 9m minus 7 is greater than 26 or equal to it. I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and then we're going to divide by 9. If the number's not pretty, that's fine. You can leave it as 33/9, or you can make it a decimal. I don't care. Okay. We want p's on the left, and then numbers on the right. When we divide by negative, we're going to flip the sign and get 7 over 4. All right, write an inequality for an equation in terms of t to represent each situation. I don't like how that's phrased, but what they're saying is take these words and put them into symbols. The temperature of 22 degrees means it's equal to 22 degrees. A temperature above means it's greater than. A temperature of no more than means that it can be equal to it. It can be 62 degrees, but it can't be more than it. And a temperature of at least 21 degrees means it has to be 21 degrees, but it can be greater. Kind of like you have to be at least as tall to ride the ride. You have to be that height or greater. L is greater than Z. X is in between 2.3 and 3 inclusive. That means including. P is positive, which means it's greater than 0. And A is less than B. This is just practice translating. Number 11. A canoe company rents a canoe for $8 plus $3 per hour for any part of the hour. For how many hours can you rent a canoe if you want to spend no more than 25? Write an inequality and then solve. So we want to spend 25, or we can spend less than it. So if I remove the $8 I have to spend for the canoe, and then divide by $3 per hour, how many hours is that? So that's not going to be a pretty number, which is fine. It's about 5.6 repeating. Well, we can't rent it for 5.6 hours. So it has to be less than 5.6 hours. So we have to say it has to be less than 5 hours because we can't grub up because we can't buy more of an hour that we don't have. So for how many hours? 5 hours or less. It says Derek needs to score a total of at least 627. Okay, so he needs to score 627 of the 3 games. Suppose she bowls. I think I copied and pasted different problems. Suppose she bowls a 222 on her first game and 194 on her second game. What does she score in her third game to break the record? We don't know, so we're going to call it X. But you want a total of 627, or you want yours to be more. So if I add my scores together, what do I get? Well, I'm going to combine like terms. So I'm going to take 194 and add it to 222, and I'm going to get 416. So 416 plus X equals this. Okay, subtract 416 from both sides. You need to get 211 or greater. 211 or greater. Okay. All right, they want you to solve and graph for compound inequalities. You need to get X by itself by dividing. It's not going to be cute over here. 8 over 3 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal or just less than 5. So 8 over 3 is about negative 2.6 repeating. So how would you write that? Make an open circle on 5. Go to negative 2.6, which is about here, and make a closed circle, and it's saying you have to be in between them. Here, you're going to add 1 to every side, and you're going to get 9 is less than 3x is less than 12. Divide everything by 3 because you're trying to get x alone. So x is in between 3 and 4. Open circle, because you can't be equal to it. This one's saying complete one, flip the sign, and then complete the other. So it's saying I have to be less than 4 or I have to be greater than 3. So I can be equal to negative 4 and less, or I can be 3 or greater, one or the other. Okay, here is, this is where it's a little tricky for some students. Okay, so solve for the absolute value or inequality. Well, if you want your distance or absolute value to be less than 10, then the stuff inside can be less than the number 10, or the stuff inside can be greater than negative 10. Well, yeah, if you're greater than negative 10, you're like negative 9. And negative 9 has a distance of 9, which is less than 10. So k is less than 8. K is greater than negative 12. Okay, if you're like, I don't like this, that's fine. You can just make a new one and say, I am less than 8. I'm sorry. I am less than 8, but I am greater than negative 12. So I am greater than negative 12, but hold up, I'm less than 8. Okay, same thing here. I need to get the distance by itself to see what our distance is. So if I divide by 7 on both sides, then I'm less than 11. So if I want my distance to be less than 11, the number inside needs to be less than 11, or the stuff inside has to be greater than negative 11, because the signs switch when we're negative. R is less than 13, or R is greater than negative 9. So once again, if we don't like this, which I don't, we're going to make negative 9 and a 13. I'm going to be greater than 9 negatively, and then less than 13. All right, Christian has between 100 and 400 baseball cards. So you're stuck between them. You are not less than 100. You are greater than 100. You are not less than 100. You are greater than 100. Can you be less than 400 and greater than 100? This is like saying the same thing. So I don't really like the way this looks as much, so this would be your answer. But if you circled that, I'd give you credit. Let's move on to one that's similar, and then I'm going to stop the video and make a part 2. Diana's grade on the test was within 6 points of her class average of 91. So she's within 6 points. She was in between 97 and an 85. So she was no more than 97. So she couldn't be more than 97. She can be less than 97, or she can be greater than 85. But she can also be equal to those scores, because that was the range of her class. Okay. We're talking about within a range of 3 points. When you're within a range, that's subtraction. So you need to be within 3 points. You don't want to be greater than 3 points. You need to be within 3 points. So you can be also 3 points. So your answer is C, equal to. Okay. Number 4, a cookie contains 7 grams of fat. If you eat no more than 5, or no fewer than 5, no more than 8, how many grams will that be? Well, it's 7 grams times 5, which is 35 grams of fat. And then 8 cookies, it'd be 56 grams of fat. So that's what you'd be in between. So it's not just 35, it's not 40. You're not less than 35, you're between 35 and 56 grams. Okay, we're going to stop here, and I'm going to make a part 2, just for the last ones. Okay.